Hello everyone, I am Tacet, and this week is the 4-year anniversary of Gems of War. Can't believe it's already been 4 years, but luckily we got a really good event this week. Also, that likely means they're going to be doing some calendar rewards and something else, so make sure you log in every day. They haven't came in yet, but they're probably going to give out something pretty shiny for the 4-year anniversary. But anyways, we have ourselves an egg thief this week, which actually isn't that bad. Everything with this event tends to be pretty decent, actually, just because this kingdom in general is very, very nice of Dragon's Claw. It's basically an all-dragon kingdom, with a few exceptions like her, who is not a dragon. But as far as the arcane of red-green, earlier on in the game, you'd want to throw that into Marilith. Later on, you'd want to throw it in Yagway, and basically any mythic that requires it. So, as far as this troop, it is basically a bronze lock pistol, except no damage, just with a summon instead. It destroys a bunch of gems, has a boost ratio of 3-to-1 based on gold, gains a little bit of gold, and then summons dragon eggs. This will be good in second and third slot to assist a bronze lock pistol or any gold related team. Unfortunately, there aren't too many gold related teams, and from my testing, it really only works properly with bronze lock pistol, since they both have that same mechanic. But you can basically use this with any kind of team that is based around gold boost ratio. There's really only 3 things that do this very well: Bronze Lock Pistol, Skeleton Key, which is the most recent option that came into the game, and Bonnie Rose. And she might have synergy with Bonnie Rose into the future as well, as it is a human rogue, and Bonnie Rose is as well, so they both synergize in that regard if you want to use it that way. But it's an okay troop, it's not going to be used much, especially this event. You only get 400 gold from it when specifically used in Explore, so yeah, that's not too good as well. Too bad that it didn't get for PvP. But anyways, as far as stats, 10% to all Dragon Claw as well as 10% to all dragons, so basically 20% to almost everything in Dragon's Claw. That's almost the entirety of the kingdom is dragon. As I mentioned, you do get 400 gold from her, but it has to be Explorer. So, unfortunately, you can only do it in Explorer. You will not get that extra gold from PvP, and PvP would still be quicker gold overall. And as far as the event objectives, we have the dreaded treasure maps. No, they're not that bad. For early game, they're actually even better. But, yeah, we do have to go do a bunch of treasure maps if we want to go get all those shiny rewards, like the 80 gems and 8 gem keys. Speaking of keys, we have ourselves event keys this week. Yes, use your event keys. It is Dragon Soul. Actually, almost every single drop from this kingdom is amazing. Of course, it's only Ultra Rare Plus on event keys, but there almost isn't a single bad Ultra Rare Plus drop for the most part. The main things you'd want to be seeking out, of course, would be Divinia, Dragonian Monk if you don't have it. Well, let's go over each. Dragonian Monk is only an ultra rare. You should get him in like 10 event keys or less. He is the best early game barrier option in the game, as well as just one of the best barrier options in the game, period. It ends up doing an X-shaped destroy that you can target anywhere. It's a little bit annoying to figure out how to use this, but once you get the hang of it, it's really powerful. Nothing else currently has this X-shape. But the main part of it is it barriers a random ally for every yellow destroyed, and if you destroy 4 yellows, you just barriered your entire team. He starts with half mana, so he only takes 1 turn, 1 single surge on a brown or a yellow to get the full, and he just gets up really quick, gives some mana accumulation, and gives you a bunch of barrier to not die. It's really good against high level content when you're in early game, since you can constantly keep barrier spamming and not die. Divinia is absolutely amazing, probably the best support troop in the game. Explodes all reds on the board, cleanses all allies, and then gives a bunch of life. Really good with things like Yagway and just in general not dying. But it has mana shield, which makes it so you can't drain its mana, and it also ends up giving a positive random stats effect to allies every single time you extra turn, which is the only troop that can effectively give you every single stats effect in the game. It does stack, though there's generally no need to use more than 1 Divinia on a team. And other than that, the other biggest drop is Dragon Soul, the best soul farmer pretty much in the game other than Fairish Ra, though this does generally get synergized with Fairish Ra. There's so many things that this can do. It is the most powerful troop in the game below about level 500 or maybe below 300, mainly because the amount of damage it does is always the exact same. It does 8 damage per with an additional 3 per dragon on the team, which means by default it's doing 11 since it itself counts as a dragon. But that also means the second you get a Dragon Soul, you can do 20 damage to all enemies. And obviously earlier on in the game, 20 damage to all enemies is very, very ridiculously high relative to most other things that can be used at the time. So if you just simply have 3 other dragons, which you generally would, you could just synergize that together, and boom, you got yourself a really solid team. And other than that, there is Elamagrim. Elamagrim is a great Purple Day Guild War troop, also for whenever the Tower of Doom comes out for purple. He might be the meta for that as well, just infinite loop purple spam. And basically you get the entire enemy team burned. Unfortunately, one of the best options for this is another Mythic of Infernus, but you can use Yarrow Fireman or literally any burner to do that. Once the entire enemy team is burned, he gets 12 purple spam over and over again, and that's generally enough just to keep constantly wiping out the enemy. It's also just one of the best general impervious troops in the game, and it has a really high attack reduction that will basically just zero out the enemy's attack after you loop for a long enough duration. And as far as Dragon Soul, I did want to just show a few teams with it just because it is such a vital troop in this game. So yeah, definitely open event keys until you get like Dragon Soul and Divinia this week. It is very insanely good value. So as far as soul farming teams, there are several that tend to get used around Dragon Soul. You can do it in first challenge Divinian Fields, tends to be one of the easier or best locations to do that. You want to set up the difficulty to whatever you need to be able to 3-shot the enemy team. You can also do it with 2-shot, but you won't end up getting the full capacity of souls. But the cheapest is to use it with Warlock. He has the most obtainable necromancy in the entire game, having it on his first trait and only being a rare. Basically, you'd have this just after completing out the Broken Spire Kingdom, because you constantly get brown and blue trait stones during that, so excessively obtainable to end up getting that. Though not the most viable of things, you'd eventually want to go and upgrade it to Azurus's, replacing out all of these eventually with Azurus. The reason for this is it still has Necromancy, but it also ends up giving you 1 additional purple per purple match, so that's going to help Dragon Soul get up even quicker. From here, you would end up replacing one of these with a Umbra Wolf. If you don't end up having a Umbra Wolf, you can also go and replace it with a hero using a Purple Storm. Any of the heroes that have that would be a okay alternative for that as well, though Umbra Wolf does work better if you happen to have it and have it fully traded. And then from there, you would just basically go and start replacing with Farish Ras as you have them. Replace that with 1 Farish Ra, and then if you were to bother crafting 2 Farish Ras, you would go and do that. And all of these are basically the best soul farming methods in the game, starting at about 20-ish thousand, give or take a few thousand at the Warlock, going up to approximately 50,000 or so, give or take about 5,000 for the double Farish Ra with the Dragon Soul and Umbra Wolf. And as most Dragon Soul teams are concerned, you generally go +2 purple, +1 red, -1 yellow. It's essentially the Dragon Soul banner, just because it's so ridiculously effective with it. So as far as low-level Dragon Soul teams, you can simply use your hero set as the Dragon Guard hero class, followed by Dragatar, which is only a rare, so it should be easy to obtain, followed by Dragon Soul, which if you're building a Dragon Soul team, you have Dragon Soul, and Dragonian Monk, which will keep you constantly barriered and will be some board control. The minus yellow doesn't necessarily matter because you're trying to keep yellow on the board in order to get your X shape, and you'll be able to accumulate all of his mana simply off of explosions off of Dragon Soul and the destroys that you do off of Dragatar, who also needs the boost ratio off of those yellows. As far as the medium level team, ends up using Lord Ember. Lord Ember is another thing that's actually in the event key drop table right now. It's kind of like a Hellcat, except it's not a Hellcat. It transforms a mana color to red of your choice, but instead of doing damage to a random enemy, it gives all other allies 1 magic. The 2 best benefits of this thing, compared to the other one, is that it counts as a dragon, and that it counts as brown-purple instead of yellow-purple, which in some instances makes it better, because it covers more color, as you can see here. We end up covering brown we wouldn't have, and this now makes the entire team into 4 dragons. And you can just put a Christine X behind it, really good AoE damage if you happen to have it. Glitter Claw would also be okay if you didn't end up having that. And then Dragon Soul just for 20 damage per cast, since we have a full team of dragons. And of course, Divinia to make sure we don't die, and to get all the cleanse. And as far as high Dragon Soul teams, you would generally use either Dragon Guard or Titan in first slot. More likely Titan, because you probably need it for everything else in the game. Luckily, it works both ways. You can have that up there, set it either to a +2 brown or to +2 purple, +1 red, -1 yellow. And then you just go Dragon Soul, Ward Breaker, and Glitter Claw. This gives you 3 different explosions. And basically, you just keep spamming those explosions. You'll eventually get a Glitter Claw. Glitter Claw ends up fairy firing all enemies, which does 50% additional damage to all your spell damage. And then you just keep hitting them with 20s off the Dragon Soul, or 17 if you're using Titan. And Ward Breaker, which has really decent damage. It got buffs. The patch prior to this patch, even though they nerfed explosions, they did specifically lower Ward Breaker's mana cost a little, as well as buffing his final trait a little bit. So he's pretty viable. And yeah, that's that as far as Dragon Soul and stuff is concerned. And yeah, bottom line, open event keys this week if you don't have Dragon Soul and Divinia. You shouldn't leave this week, ideally, without those 2. So, raids! We have another thing that came in. Well, 2 other things. You know, the normal weapon that we always get and the normal useless troop that we always get. Though this time around, the useless troop isn't as bad. But as far as the weapon, Give an ally a bunch of armor, double the effect if the ally uses red mana, and explode all reds if the enemy has has a boss. I'm still back on Tower of Doom, but fail. Anyways, this weapon, basically useless, similar to most of the weapons that have been coming in. There's basically no instance you would ever bother using it. This thing already has enough damage that you don't really need to do that, and you'd probably be better off just using any other hero weapon that you'd have available. But anyways, we also got Lady Garnita. As far as what this thing can do, it has a boost ratio of 3-to-1 based on its armor. So right now it has 65, so it's going to be what? It's going to be 32 additional damage? 31? Yeah, 31 because it rounds down. So, 21, what am I saying? But yeah, 21 additional damage. That would bring it up to a 54. And at 54, since we have the mythic, would be times by 5, so we'd get a, 270 if I did that correctly? So that's quite a bit of damage. And if you really, really wanted to, you could use that weapon to boost it even higher, but 270 damage, that's pretty solid compared to most of the other raid weeks. It not only has 20% this week, but of course, that armor boost ratio helps out a lot. And on top of all of that, it just has a random increase in random skill by 3. I don't know why they added that in there on top of everything else she does, but yeah, they did. So really nice. It also has a unique trait. I don't know why they added this either. It's basically like armored, except it's not armored. It's tough skills. It's just 30% score reduction. Seems really odd. I don't know if they're going to be replacing some of the other dragons with this. Not sure. But this seems like a really, really odd new trait to add because armored is considered one of the other worst traits just because it's kind of trivial. Oh, Dust Devils. This was one of the things I wanted to mention. They are in raids this week. They are super, super, super annoying, though somewhat counterable. All you have to do is move your team out by 1 and offset it by 1. So now it'll move Lord Ember to the back. It actually works out really well because as far as leadership is concerned, it only checks if you started in that location. It doesn't check where you currently are. So you'll still keep the 3 to all stats to your Lord Ember. I know that will make almost no difference, but still it synergizes pretty well into the fact that there is a Dust Devil here. But yeah, Lord Ember, Mountain Crusher, Dragon Soul, and Lady Garnita, or Mountain Crusher, Dragon Soul, Lady Garnita, Lord Ember is what you would end up using, dependent on if they have a Dust Devil or not have a Dust Devil. And I'm just doing it with a +2 brown, +1 purple, minus yellow, since we don't use any yellow. We also don't use any green, but that's besides the point. There's no way to really fit it on. Most of the green options that we have available this week aren't really that good, since we can only use within the kingdom. So move that over. Ideally, we want to go and kill that out as quickly as possible, which luckily happens. And then we want to go focus on the boss. Oh, but now we have our team still in correct order because we killed it so quickly. I didn't mean to kill it that quickly, but that's fine. It's perfectly fine in this order too. Lord Ember in first slot instead of in the last slot. Pretty much the same difference regardless. Especially if you get a lot of mana initially like we ended up getting. But we just basically keep casting Lord Ember. This thing has a that 3-to-1 armor boost ratio thing, so it still hits pretty decently on non-boss troops. Obviously not as good as it hits on the boss, but still competently enough to single target things out gradually. And yeah, that is that. It's going to be a pretty easy week because, well, everything in this kingdom is so good. So yeah, should pretty much be a cakewalk, I would assume, for most of this, other than Dust Devil. Dust Devil is probably going to be the one thing that's going to make this week annoying. But just try dealing with it before it moves you too many times. One nice thing about this team, though, is as long as Lady Garnita isn't in first slot, it's pretty much going to be good in any order. Dragon Soul is perfectly fine in first slot since it has that 50% Baby Dragon Revive thingy. Mountain Crusher has Titan, obviously, is amazing in first slot. And Lord Ember is fine in first slot because it has 25% score reduction and even leadership on top of that, plus 20% stats this week. So, yeah, as long as Lady Garnita isn't in first or moved to first, you pretty much be fine against Dust Devil. It's not going to be too big of a threat. Anyways, that's that. Let's go over to games now. We just saw that. Oh, but now since we saw that, you won't be able to see what the pet is. But Tuesday, we have ourselves the faction event for All Seeing Eye. Nothing special there. Wednesday, we have the 4-year anniversary pet. It's fully cosmetic, unfortunately, but we are getting the 4-year anniversary pet. It's basically just a cake. That's also why you saw the cake skulls. I forgot to mention that. If you're wondering why there's a bunch of cake skulls, it's obviously because of the 4-year anniversary of Gems of War. Or at least now it's obvious. Anyways, as far as Thursday, we have ourselves the class event for Dragon Guard. This is quite convenient because, well, it's that's associated with the kingdom of, well, Dragon's Claw, obviously. But it's Dragon Guard Hero class for Dragon's Claw, which is the event for the week. And this Friday, oddly enough, we have nothing coming this Friday other than whatever they might do for the 4-year anniversary. But as far as actual content to do, nothing to do. Unless they're just randomly going to drop a new troop this Friday, who knows. But hey, maybe they will. I think they did last year, but that doesn't mean they will this year. But anyways, Soulforge, there's 2 really relevant things. Well, one super relevant. For the first time ever, Megavore is now craftable. This is super relevant because this is the first time not only that he's been craftable, but also the first time that a really good Delve troop has been available since the nerf of Dragon's Eye. This is basically the most effective thing to use in most of the Delves that has nothing to do with Dragon's Eye. You can end up using Mountain Crusher, Megavore, Arachnian Weaver, and another Megavore. Or use, what's it called, a Queen Aurora if you don't happen to have the Weaver. But you basically just use any combination like that with a double Megavore or a single Megavore that can constantly keep instant killing. He has an 8% chance to kill the last enemy on 4 times and 5 times matches. And in the current state of the game, there is 0 things in all of Delves that has immune to instant kill. So you will constantly be able to get this 8%. Oh, well, obviously, it's an 8% chance each time, but there's nothing that will specifically have immune to it. Do keep in mind, Barrier will block against it, but it doesn't have full immunity. And as far as what it actually does, it destroys all enemies' armor, which is already really good, particularly in Delves when they have hundreds upon hundreds of armor, and then deals a decent amount of concentrated magic damage. And this is also good, concentrated true damage. This is also good because, for one, you already got rid of the armor, but the other aspect is it gains twice the effect off of all the magic you accumulate, and obviously you're accumulating a lot of additional magic from whenever you do Delves, simply because you're going to have it at least to level 100 whenever you're doing Delves more often than not. And on top of all of that, if that wasn't enough, he also gets to Submerge himself. He does all that for 24 mana. He is basically one of the best Delve troops in the game, and something I would highly advise having at least 1 copy. You can consider getting 2. Obviously, it's one of those things that you'd only really do if you had a lot of resources in your super end game. But if you do have 2, his 8% chance to instant kill does stack, so you're basically doubling the chance that you will instant kill. I would not advise getting 3 or 4, simply because you need to make sure you have at least 2 other troops that will constantly keep getting you extra turns so that you can keep hitting these chances. So I would not advise getting more than 2, but 1 is also perfectly fine. Other than that, there's one other somewhat noteworthy thing, and that is Guard's Avatar. Guard's Avatar on his own, the troop itself isn't really too good. It's basically just used as a one-shot troop, but you have to do a lot of armor buffing to it to really get it to be viable. It's also a decent Daemon counter if Daemons ever became meta, though they've been dead for a while. But as far as this troop, the main reason you need it is because it's a White Helm Mythic, and in order to get White Helm to 10, 11, and 12 star, you will need to have a Guard's Avatar. So for that reason and that reason only, it's a pretty good idea to pick up Guard's Avatar, simply because you get 1 additional armor to all of your allies for every battle ever, assuming you get level 10, and then you get slightly better tribute on the best tribute kingdom once you get past level 10, so it could be worth considering simply for that reason alone. But anyways, let's go over the new little troop and just go over a team or 2 with it. Oops, do we not have any good battles here? Well, apparently we're doing Bronzelock versus Bronzelock. There's mainly only this one team that I really wanted to show, and it is Greed, Egg Thief, Bronzelock Pistol, and Cedric Sparklesack. This is basically one of the other versions of a Bronzelock Pistol team that you can end up creating. There are several different ways that you can go about it. As you can see, there's him doing it with Bonnie Rose. But basically, the whole premise of this is to perpetually keep casting Bronzelock Pistol until you win, and it ends up giving a pretty decent amount of gold. Do keep in mind, you're not getting the extra plus 400 gold, but you're still getting so many extra gold everywhere that it should still be fine. Cedric Sparklesack is the hardest thing to actually obtain from this team. It is obtained from Vault Keys. Hopefully you got it during the most recent Vault event. Of course, there was just a Vault event last weekend, so ideally you got him then. There isn't too many things that he's used for, but he is really good for gold farming due to the fact that he's basically the fairest raw of gold, in that he gives 100% gold bonus to all, or to the entire battle. And this is really relevant with these 2 troops, as both of them boost ratio off of gold for how many destroys they end up applying to the board, which is very good when synergized together. So basically, she's here just to make sure we can resummon into first slot. She's also here to make sure that we have an option when Bronzelock Pistol runs out of mana. Generally, Bronzelock Pistol doesn't run out of mana, but this will make sure that we can instantly get back up for whenever it does. As you can see here, we're probably just going to be able to do it without even casting her a single time, but she is there mainly for backup to make sure to hold down the team. and that's exactly what she's here for. We can now go and make another tank in case they're killing us too much, and now we have a gigantic egg. One nice thing about egg 2 is because its attack is so ridiculously low, it has a really high HP and armor, meaning it will always be able to tank very well for you, and that's basically the whole purpose of her. She also has 20% dodge, so this will also be good if you use this team against a skull spam team, because not only will you be able to create a meat shield that's pretty tanky against it, you will also be able to go and then have a 20% chance to just dodge the entire skull spam. One interesting thing about Agile and anything that ever dodges skulls is when used against skull spam, it'll avoid 100% of all the instances of damage. Even if they're hitting 3 or 4 skulls at you simultaneously, it'll end up dodging all of them. But anyways, assuming it triggers. But anyways, I believe that is everything that I wanted to go over. Hopefully we'll get some shiny things for the 4-year anniversary. Hope you all have a wonderful week. If you still have any other questions, feel free to leave it in the comment section below. And thank you all for watching. Goodbye, everyone!